Hello YouTube, LD50 here, back with another video, and today we are going to have a look at Fist over Matter Amara. Fist over Matter is one of Amara's action skills on the red tree, and generally it's not used very much, but we thought we'd put together a build to see if we could make it work. As you can see from the intro, we seem to have generated plenty of power. Damage. We've completed the raid boss. We've completed True Malaman Takedown, Grave Ward, the Ruiner. So anyway, we'll get straight into the build and the gear. So the gear, it's a Terra based build. So we want our face puncher to have the anointment while terrified, gain increased damage and fire rate. That will increase our DPS. And then we also want to have Guardian Angel with while terrified deals 75% bonus cryo damage. That's because when we use our action skill, we want to be affected by terror, and then we'll swap to the Guardian Angel, and that will give our action skill a boost of 75%. Shields that we want to use for main mobbing areas, main areas, I would recommend to use the Frozen Heart, but you could use the Revolter. The Revolter is good for bosses, and you could even use a Stinger or maybe even a Void Rift if you so desired, but I've found that the Stinger is probably the second best for mobbing areas. Revolter is the best for bossing, and Frozen Heart I find to be the best for general mobbing areas. Then you want to have a grenade with melee attacks have 25% chance to apply terror to yourself. That's because the face puncher doing melee damage will apply the terror for you. Also, if you have a fish slap as opposed to any other grenade with this anoint on, the fish slap also does melee damage, so this also has a chance to keep terror applied. We're going to use a Phase Zerker. This one has some benefits to melee, splash and action skill damage, but the com itself will boost our weapon damage, it will boost our action skill damage, so it will make Fist over Matter a little bit more useful. And then we're going to pair this with the stone of some sort. For general areas, I would recommend something like Radiation Stone, and then if you're going up against Grave Ward or a flesh enemy, you may want to use the Firestone, and then against Wotan, perhaps you'd want to use the Corrosive Stone White Elephant. Right, we'll go through the skills. Generally, you want to be using your shock element as your main element. Put the fire element on if you are going up against a fire enemy that's weak to fire, like Grave Ward or the Ruiner, and leave it on shock for Wotan. The reason that we would leave that on shock for Wotan is this build does not get down into the green tree at all, so we're not able to take Blight Tiger. So the next best option would be shock, and that is because Wotan is resistant to cryo damage. He can be frozen with the Frozen Heart though, so in the Wotan fight I would use the Frozen Heart for that particular fight, but again you could use the Stinger or the Revolter or whatever you fancied. But anyway, we'll have a look at the skills. So, as we said there, we're not putting anything in the green tree at all. That's 2 points from the com. And then in the red tree, we want 5 out of 5 into Anima. In fact, let me just take the com off so that you can see where all the skill points are going. 5 out of 5 into Anima, and a single point into Infusion. That is to allow sustainment to work. 5 out of 5 into Tempest, which will increase our elemental damage, and it increases our shock damage even further, which is why we generally use shock with this build. Illuminated Fist will apply our action skill element to melee damage, and Wildfire will give a increased chance to apply a status effect to for it to spread to a nearby enemy. That will become important in a minute when we go down the purple tree. We're going to take a point in dread because it's an easy 15% gun damage, and if you do kill an enemy whilst you have it grasped, then your gun will be reloaded. 3 out of 3 into indiscriminate for the ricochet charge, and a point in sustainment to help keep us alive. And obviously taking fist over matter. Fist over matter is a grasp skill, so it will proc dread. Going down the blue tree, we want 5 out of 5 into do harm, because that will increase our action skill damage 5.9% per stack. We are using a phase zerker, and we are going all the way down to the bottom, so we will have a maximum of 25 stacks. So that is something in the region of close to 150% bonus action skill damage. 3 out of 3 into fast hands for the reload, single point into violent tapestry just to help us gain rush stacks. 3 out of 3 into transcend for the critical hit damage from the sticky bombs, and from splash damage that will also do critical hit damage. 2 out of 5 into alacrity for some extra reload. Point in ascendant just to boost all the augments, whichever ones you choose to use. We are choosing to use soul sap with this, but you could try any other augment of your choice. 3 out of 3 into laid bare, 3 out of 3 into wrath. These are good skills here. Although the face puncher is doing melee damage, it is a gun. It apparently gets gun damage. I've tested this on the dummy, and all enemies will take bonus damage after taking damage from the action skill, so it's a bit of a debuff. 3 out of 3 into awakening to improve the effectiveness of our rush stacks. Single point into remnant for the overkill damage. It's not the remnant orb itself, it's the overkill damage that we're looking for there. And then a point into avatar to give us extra 10 bonus rush stacks, and to give us the ability to use our action skill twice, once whilst it's on cooldown and once regularly. So here we go, we're going to go down the purple tree now. 5 out of 5 into heavy rain for the projectile speed, but mostly for the splash damage. Now the guardian angel does fire quite slow projectiles, but this does speed them up a little bit, and this is a surprisingly good weapon to get yourself out of fight for life. If you can get a critical hit from distance with this, with that amount of bullet spreads, you've got a good chance of being able to hit a critical. You will get a good increase to the damage, and you can actually get yourself out of fight for life with this weapon. Alternatively, you'd just be using your face puncher. But the splash damage is what we're really looking for. We want to boost that as much as possible. We're putting 4 out of 5 into no mistakes in nature to boost our melee damage. Now we apply status effects, then we can get increased melee damage, and that will boost the damage of the face puncher. 3 out of 3 into unweave the rainbow. Deal bonus damage of attuned element whenever Amara deals melee damage or splash damage to frozen enemies. Well, one of the reasons I like to use the frozen heart is it will instantly freeze enemies around, which means that any melee damage or splash damage that is dealt will have this bonus 33% extra damage on top. So that's a very, very easy way to increase your damage. 3 out of 3 go with the flow, just for the extra gun damage. And movement speed. Movement speed's quite important at end game. You need to get yourself out of trouble, and you also need to get yourself to the next set of enemies to kill. 5 out of 5 into Joyful Freedom. After activating her action skill, Amara gains increased melee damage for a short time, so that's an extra bonus melee damage after you've used your action skill. That's great for a build that relies on melee damage. And then the powerhouse of the build is body and mind. Now this is a kill skill, so you have to keep killing. If you let your kill skills run out, you will lose quite a bit of damage. Now the interesting thing about this particular skill is it will proc for every instance of melee damage, and if you use a face puncher with a times 14 count, it will proc this skill 14 times, and that will do splash damage of 5,347, but I believe that that is increased by mayhem scaling. So if you play it on 10 or 11, it will do I think a lot more than that. So that is the build. I would say that this is an end game build. We are relying to some extent on Groundbreaker here, and some of the other skills. Hollow Point is a good skill to have for a high elemental build, particularly if you've got radiation in the mix at all, which we would have by using our radiation stone. I'll just put the phase Zerker back on. So yeah, you need to have spent some points to get down to at least Groundbreaker in the red tree, and you do really want to get down to emergency response, shield reboot. These will help keep you alive. And topped off. Now topped off will increase your action skill cooldown whilst your shield is full. Shield reboot, emergency response helps keep your shield full. This is equivalent to around about a 200% increase in cooldown rate, so that's about a 3 times faster. So as you can see with our skills, we haven't taken any points into Restless because topped off is a much better bet, but we are getting extra cooldown from the phase Zerker. And we've been playing on Mayhem 11 because I don't like the modifiers. So there we go. That is the Fist over Matter Amara Face Puncher build. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. Give it a go. It's a very easy build to do. It's a very easy build to play as long as you are keeping your kill skills up. So really, that's where we are at the moment with Borderlands 3 and Matter Amara. I haven't been doing a lot of videos recently, but I thought I'd revisit because I thought Fist over Matter was worth another video. I'm hoping that Borderlands will be dropping their new vault card soon. There's a third vault card to come out for Borderlands 3. So we've got Pandora and the Fallen Heroes. We've got one more to come, so hopefully we'll get some more lovely loot for that. And then Wonderlands will be dropping next year, and of course we will on this channel be putting a lot of effort into playing Wonderlands and bringing videos to see how it goes. Okay, so I've been LD50, I've talked so much I've got a croaky voice. You've been lovely, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.